Hi guys, it's Linda with No Frills ASMR. I thought we could look through some more of these 100 facts on ancient Rome. We've looked through up to here, I think. Father knows best. A Roman father had the power of life and death over his family. Eeks. According to Roman law, each family had to be headed by a man. He was known as the paterfamilias, or father of the family, and was usually the oldest surviving male. The buildings of the house and its contents belonged to him, and he had the right to punish any family members who misbehaved. Even his mother and other older female relatives were expected to obey him. The Romans gave a good luck charm called a bulla to their babies. Roman families included more than blood relations. To the Romans, a family meant all the people living and working together in the same household. So families included many different slaves and servants, as well as a husband and wife and their children. This carving shows a Roman wedding. The bride and groom are in the center, and the priestess is behind them. Sons were valued more than daughters. Shocking. The Romans preferred boys to girls. Boys would grow up and carry on the family name. I don't believe it. The Romans invented Valentine's Day but called it Lupercalia. Boys picked a girl's name from a hat, and she was meant to be their girlfriend for the year. Childhood was short for a Roman girl. Roman law allowed girls to get married at 12 years old, and many had become mothers by the time they were 15. Roman girls could not choose whom to marry, especially if they came from rich or powerful families. Instead, marriages were arranged by families to gain political power or encourage business deals. Love was not important. Roman families liked to keep pets. Roman statues and paintings show many children playing with their pets. Dogs, cats, and doves were popular. Roman style. Most Roman clothes were made without sewing. Roman men and women wore loose-fitting robes made of long strips of cloth. They were draped around the body and held in place by pins, brooches, or belts. Most women wore several layers. These were a thin shift, a tunica, a long sleeveless dress called a stola, and a thick cloak called a palla. Men wore a knee-length tunic, a colobium, with a semicircular cloak, a toga, over the top. Roman clothes were different depending on how important you were. Clothes told the world who you were. This Celtic warrior from northern Europe has used dye from a plant called woad as war paint on his body. Okay. And they show you how to dress like a Roman to make a toga. These Roman sandals have metal studs in the soles to make sure they won't wear down too quickly. That makes sense, because there'd be a lot of hard ground, I would think. Roman boots were made for walking. These boots were made. Looking good. Just like today, hairstyles changed according to fashion. All freeborn Roman women grew their hair long, as short hair was a sign of slavery. In early Roman times, the fashion was for plain and simple styles. Later on, most women wore their hair smoothed down and tied back tightly. Roman men usually wore short hair and were mostly clean-shaven, except when they were old. Blonde hair was highly prized. Most Romans were born with wiry dark brown hair. Some fashionable people admired delicate blonde blonde hair because it was unusual. Roman women used vinegar and lye, an early form of soap made from urine and wood ash, to bleach their hair. Going to the barber's could be very painful. In Roman times, sharp scissors and razors had not been invented. Barbers used shears to trim men's hair and beard. When a smooth, close-shaven look was in fashion, barbers had to pull men's beard out by the root, one hair at a time. I bet they used wax. The Romans were pretty smart. Like, why do they think they'd pluck it? I don't know. If you had to dress up as a Roman, what clothes would you wear? Romans liked to smell sweet. They used olive oil to cleanse and soften their skin, and perfumes to scent their body. Ingredients for perfumes came from many different lands. Flowers came from southern Europe, spices from India and Africa, and sweet-smelling bark and resin came from Arabia. Roman combs were made from bone, ivory, or wood. Look at this bath time. The Romans went to public baths in order to relax. Look at this. It's crazy. These huge buildings were more than a place to get clean. They were also fitness centers and places to meet friends. Visitors could take part in sports such as wrestling, do exercises, have a massage or a haircut. They could buy scented oils and perfumes, read a book, eat a snack, or admire works of art in the bath's own sculpture gallery. Look at this. Is this that heated the water. Oh wow, check that out. Fires heat the water for the hot rooms. So they'd actually heat it. So you'd have a hot bath. That's pretty cool. There were public baths in most districts of Rome. They were built by Roman emperors or rich families as a gift to the citizens. The finest were the baths of Caracalla, opened around AD 215, which had room for 1,600 bathers at a time. Men and women could not bathe together. Women usually went to the baths in the morning, while most men were at work. Men went to the baths in the afternoon. The frigidarium had the coldest pool. The tepidarium had a cool or tepid pool. The hot room was called the caldarium. Isn't that interesting, the words? I don't believe it. Although the Romans liked bathing, they only visited the baths once every 9 days. Bathing wasn't simple. There were 5 separate stages to taking a bath Roman style. After changing, bathers went into a very hot room, which was full of steam, and they sat for a while. Then they went into a hot, dry room where a slave removed all the sweat and dirt from their skin, using a metal scraper and olive oil. To cool off, they went for a swim in a tepid pool. Finally, they jumped into the bracing cold pool. They talked about a steam room, but they don't talk about this hot pool. Having fun. The Romans liked music and dancing. Groups of buskers played in the street or could be hired to perform at private parties. Among ordinary families, favorite instruments included pipes, flutes, cymbals, castanets, and horns. Rich, well-educated people, though, thought the noise they made was vulgar. They preferred the quieter, gentler sound of a lyre, which was played to accompany poets and singers. Roman theater-goers preferred comedies to tragedies. Well, yeah. Comic plays had happy endings and made audiences laugh. Tragedies were more serious and ended with misery and suffering. The Romans also liked clowns and invented mime, a story told without words through gestures, acrobatic movements, and dance. Scenery could be very complicated, so it was moved around by complex machinery. I want to know more about that. This is the stage or pulpitum. So many words from Roman. Plays were originally part of religious festivals. Roman actors all wore masks. Other favorite pastimes included games of skill and chance. Theaters were huge, well-built structures. One of the best preserved Roman theaters is at Orange in southern France. It has seats for almost 10,000 people. It is so cleverly designed that the audience can hear the actors even from the back row. That's pretty cool. All the parts in Roman plays were performed by men. For women's roles, men wore masks and dressed in female costumes. Women could not be actors except in mime. Roman actors were almost all men. Some were as popular as TV stars today. Women couldn't sit near the stage in case they tried to arrange a date with one of the stars. Oh my. Oh my. I still haven't seen the movie Gladiator. I want to see it. Let the games begin. Romans admired gladiators for their strength, bravery, and skill. However, gladiators' lives were short and their deaths were horrible. They were sent to the arena to fight and suffer until they died. And here we have a large fork called a trident. Gladius, a gladiator's sword called a gladius. Greaves are these metal shields on his legs to protect the legs. A net to trap the opponent. Oh my. Most gladiators did not choose to fight. They were either prisoners of war or criminals who were sold to fight trainers who organized gladiator shows. Some were specifically trained so that they would survive for longer and provide better entertainment for the watching crowds. It's a lion. Gladiators fought wild beasts as well as each other. Fierce wild animals were brought from distant parts of the Roman Empire to be killed by gladiators in the arena in Rome. So many lions were taken from North Africa that they became extinct there. What? I don't think I've ever heard that. Oh my God. The Colosseum was an amazing building for its time. Also known as the Flavian Amphitheater, the Colosseum was a huge oval arena in the center of Rome used for gladiator fights and mock sea battles. It opened in AD 80 and could seat 50,000 people. It was built of stone, concrete, and marble and had 80 separate entrances. Outside of it was decorated with statues of famous Roman heroes. All these entrances, I guess. It's fascinating. They had like a floor they could put above, and then they could put water in it. Tunnels for prisoners and beasts. The arena, seating for the audience. Poles to support a canopy. Some Romans preferred a day at the races. Horses pulled vast chariots round racetracks called circuses. The most famous was the Circus Maximus in Rome, which had room for 250,000 spectators. There could be up to 24 races each day. 12 chariots took part in each race, running 7 times around the oval track, a total distance of about 8 kilometers. This is the Circus Maximus. Chariots often collided and overturned. Each charioteer carried a sharp knife called a falx to cut himself free from the wreckage. Even so, many horses and charioteers were killed. I don't believe it. Some gladiators became so popular that people used to write graffiti about them on the walls of the buildings around Rome. Oh, I bet you can still see that. That's pretty cool. Racing rivalries sometimes led to riots. Races were organized by 4 separate teams: the reds, the blues, the greens, and the whites. Charioteers wore in their team's colors. Charioteers wore tunics in their team's colors. Each team had a keen and violent group of fans. Wow. That's pretty wild. All right. We'll read the rest of this.